G'day folks, Corey Hunt. I hope you're doing really well. We're going to talk about the 7 things that you want to avoid if you want to keep your Google business profile alive and well. A lot of people get suspensions. I field these questions quite often. Sometimes it's a new listing that gets suspended straight away. Sometimes people have been altering things and they get a suspension, but they're not sure why. Sometimes it just comes out of the blue. So these are the 7 things at the moment that we feel are the most important ones to avoid. Keep in mind, if your Google business profile goes down, that can be a very serious impact on your business for a couple of weeks while you try and re-verify. If you've been really breaking the rules and Google's terms and conditions and you get disabled by Google, that's a major issue. But we're talking now about the suspensions that pop up and typically get back online in a few weeks, and the 7 that you want to avoid. Now, the first one we've talked about before a few times, which is anything I call name shenanigans. So anything that's not an exact match for your name for the business. If your listing says blah, 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 something, but your business is actually just called blah, 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 that's a problem. So any alteration from your actual trading name, you should change it back to your real business name. Now, all of these things can be either picked up by Google automatically, or in lots of cases, another Google user reports it. Doesn't matter how it gets found out, it gets found out in some way. So make sure your name is on point. There are still loads of names around that are not an exact match. I feel like eventually they are rolling the dice and will get found out. So if you want to avoid suspension, make sure your name is right on point. The second one is having multiple businesses at the one address. So often this will just trigger a Google suspension because it'll pick up, usually this is an artificial intelligence algorithm pickup, they'll pick it up that there's multiple businesses at one address, forcing you to verify that again. And if you are trading from that address, that's fine, won't be an issue, but it still might cost you a couple of weeks. So keep this in mind. Sometimes you can't avoid this. It's fine. It's within the terms and conditions of Google to have multiple businesses at one address, but just keep that in mind that is a risky play as well. Anytime you change an address too, that can cause a suspension. We changed one for a client yesterday. We just have to re-verify now as the postcard goes to the new address. So try to be across that. The third one is dodgy reviews. Now, Google's not great at picking these up yet, but I think it's really going to come unstuck for lots of people really, really soon. There's all these dodgy buggers out there on the internet who call themselves professional review providers. Now, to me, it's very unprofessional, it's very dodgy, and of course it's in breach of Google's terms and conditions. So look, you're playing with fire if you buy one of these fake review people, and you probably deserve what you get. So I'd be surprised if you're doing this, but if you are doing this, expect a suspension or worse at some point. I would never, ever recommend you get dodgy reviews. Play the game, get proper reviews. I know, and I have this discussion with clients almost every week. I know some people leave reviews that don't turn up. I know some people can't do reviews for whatever reason or don't want to do them. That's fine. The end result we want is good, proper Google reviews. So do it properly, play the game well, and in the long run, you will win. The fourth one is anything inconsistent with your name, address, phone number. Okay. Google hates to be confused. Google likes things to be consistent. And if things aren't in line, a Google suspension will probably come around at some point. So jump into all of your citations, check out all the places online where your business is, and make sure that your name, address, and phone number are all exactly the same. We've seen this happen quite often, and it's easy to get in front of it. So get out there, be proactive, make sure that everywhere you appear online is the same, especially for those 3, because Google Business Profile is a location-based tool. So the name and address and phone number really need to be on point. Okay. Number 5 is having multiple listings for the same business. Now, again, you're probably breaching Google's terms here, guys. You're meant to have one listing. Okay, now you can, in some instances, have 2. If, for example, you're a mortgage broker yourself and you work in a firm, that could work. Maybe real estate, but apart from that, it's not that likely you can get away with it. And in my experience, there are loads of people out there who, and some people have been getting away with this. They know how important Google Business Profile is for their business. Let's say it's a tow truck business or roofing or whatever it might be, where people need you locally in a hurry, so they go and create fake listings around the place using friends, addresses, etc. That's not cool, and you're gonna come unstuck with that play, so don't do it. All right, it's going to cause you pain in the long run. The next one is wrong services or categories being used. Look, I realize that this is part of optimizing your listing, and we actually encourage people to enhance this area of their listing, the categories. Make sure you know which categories to use as many as you can that are appropriate. Get your services in line with what you do, expand that where possible, use all the space they give you in terms of words to really pad that out as much as you can, but don't game the system. Like, you might be a mechanic and you start installing things like car dealer and tire changer. That's not what you do. So be thorough, but don't make things up, because as I said before, and I've said multiple times, when you try and cheat Google, eventually they'll find out, and they always do the same thing. They suspend you and force you to prove to them that you deserve a Google business listing. You don't deserve or have the right to a Google business listing just because you're in business. You've got to comply with their rules. Now, this kind of leads on to number 7, which is the listing or the business simply not being eligible. For example, you might be an online business that only has an online service. You're not eligible for a Google business profile. It's really for businesses that have a physical address that people can come to, or businesses that go to people's homes and serve a particular area. That's really the nuts and bolts of it. So at the start of Google business profile, yes, lots of businesses got these and they probably shouldn't have. There's big sweeps that happen too. Over the last couple of years, there's been a couple of times where large numbers of Google business listings got deleted because Google figured out a way to pull up the ones which shouldn't have them, and they just disappeared overnight. Hasn't happened for over a year. I kind of feel like it might be around the corner, so make sure that you are actually eligible for a listing, because maybe you need to spend your marketing time and effort on your email, your social media, your normal SEO, all that type of stuff. So they're the 7 Google sins, I guess. So have a look through those. If there's any questions about that, please pop them in the comments below. And of course, as all YouTubers say, please subscribe to the channel. Cheers, guys. Bye for now.